Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Mariane Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Mariane Pinkston.
Hello, everybody. Good day. It is nice to see you again. Start a new week of information for your health and hopefully your happiness, and something that will get people moving and going on some a topic that I think is absolutely becoming more and more critical. That a topic that maybe not everybody has heard of, but I want to talk about autoimmunity today because it is my belief in the next 10 years, maybe even less, autoimmunity is going to happen and be something that everybody is dealing with. And so now I probably at least about 50 to 60% of the people that I see in clinic are starting to deal with their bodies attacking themselves. So your own immune system is supposed to attack foreign material like bacteria, viruses, things that don't belong to you. But for the last, 2 decades or so, we have begun to see an increase in the fact that our immune system begins to attack us. And it's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to recognize us as ourselves and attack, foreign material. But before I do that, I want to jump in, before I jump into the autoimmune field here, I want to let you guys know that I am here on radio in San Antonio, Texas, locally for the last year or so, but I am also podcasting out to YouTube and iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and all the platforms. So if you will visit drpbetterlife.com, you can hit all of the links that go out to all of the platforms. So I want you guys to visit. I want you to subscribe and share and listen to the past year of shows. We've done a lot. I do a lot with people here locally, but also a few shows on my own, trying to get the word of integrative medicine out there. Now, integrative medicine is a combination of our contemporary allopathic health. We go to medical school, we learn allopathic health, but there's a whole other side to medicine that I think we have left out, and that is the more natural, more holistic side. And when you bring the two together, because there's good points and bad points on both sides, when you bring all those together, it's integrated. And so integrative medicine is something I think is very, very in-depth and helpful, and something that patients are looking for more and more these days. So these are the topics that I try to bring to you. Now, autoimmunity is something that I have suffered from for the last 15 years. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and now we're trying to diagnose the fact that I might have autoimmune hepatitis as well, have a few other itises, and the rheumatoid arthritis has definitely been something that is very disabling to me. I have really suffered with a lot of pain for 15 years. You may not know it from, the way that I go all the time. My friends, oftentimes will tell me, I don't know how you do it, Dr. P, but it has to be done, so you get up every day and do it. But when you're dealing with a chronic illness and a chronic pain, most patients, when they're dealing with autoimmunity, say, look, from the outside, I look normal, I look like I feel normal, but on the inside, I don't, and I feel terrible. I feel extremely fatigued, have a lot of joint pain, muscle pain, tendon pain, have a lot of unusual rashes and allergies and stomach issues, irritable bowel type issues, have a lot of neurological symptoms. Some patients suffer from anxiety and depression as an autoimmune disorder, but some patients also suffer things like multiple sclerosis, myasthenia gravis, Parkinson's, things like that. So, the thyroid is another place that is extremely, extremely common. More and more every day I see patients who are diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis or an autoimmune thyroid condition. So all this autoimmunity, again, I think in the next 10 years, people are going to have at least one form of an autoimmune illness. And if you know that you have one autoimmune condition, eventually you develop a second or a third, and it continues down to attack various aspects of the body. When you look at autoimmunity, many people say, well, I'm diagnosed with this or I'm diagnosed with that. And in my mind, the diagnosis is all the same. Your body develops an immune system attack on your own body, And whichever body system it chooses to attack can change and be different in me as opposed to what happens in someone else. But the source of it is all the same. So when it comes to autoimmunity and your immune system attacking itself, many patients will say, well, I have avoided, gluten, dairy. I've avoided certain types of foods, things that upset my system, make me sick. I develop a rash or, whatever it is that they get. And I have to tell you that it's, avoiding the foods is a start. The foods are not the issue. The immune system goes all the way down to the cellular level, but then to the cellular level of your intestines. So your intestine happens to be about 80 to 90% of your immune system. The intestine, something that we think that it does is just there to let waste escape, but it is really a very delicate part of our immune system, but also a part of how our brain chemistry functions. Your intestine is responsible for 80 to 90% of your brain chemistry that's produced. So as you can see, these things are, as they break down, the intestine is supposed to have a nice concrete wall that doesn't allow particles to move through. It's supposed to exit, but these particles go through leaky channels that develop in the intestine and allow the particles to reach the blood system, so your venous and your lymphatic system. And your body says, hey, that's foreign material. I'll attack it. It doesn't belong here. So it starts to attack the foreign material, but as your body begins to, attack as it sees these, insults over and over and over again, the immune system then turns and says, you know what, I'm just going to attack everything. So it turns and attacks you. The most common organ that is attacked is our thyroid. But probably the second and third most common, the next two would be your skin and mucous membranes, so allergies, asthma, eczema, rashes, things like that. And then the next would be your muscular and joint system, so your muscles, tendons, joints. And so patients began to develop a lot of joint pain and tendinitises and problems with, like I say, skin, rashes and itching and psoriasis, things like that. When this happens, though, again, patients want to concentrate on removing things from their diet. But if the diet, it wasn't the problem to begin with, it's something you developed over time, then you need to go back and shut down where the food is getting exposed to your blood system and to your immune system. So the leaky gut is where we try to focus to shut that down. So the reason why I think in the next 10 years everybody is going to have some sort of autoimmune condition is because of the many different factors, especially over the last 2 years with COVID, in that we have an intense amount of stress. We all are working, getting up too early, going to bed too late, working too hard, working shift hours, odd hours. We have a lot of stressors taking care of, everybody and our families, ourselves, our coworkers, our friends, our children. On top of that, then we have the insults of things like viruses like COVID or EBV, which is from the monovirus, and some other viruses and molds, maybe even Lyme disease. But you also have exposures to certain types of bacterias that if you take too many antibiotics, you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria in the intestine. And so I could go on and on of the exposures that we get, but one of the things that's concerned me over the last 2 years has been the exposure to cleaning substances. So the things like Clorox wipes, hand sanitizers, the lotions and soaps that have the antibacterials in them. These are things that we actually wind up ingesting, even in small amounts, but that reaches our intestinal system, and it breaks down the growth of all the good bacteria that is in our intestine, and then again allows for that leakiness to develop, so that, again, things will cross over from the intestine into your bloodstream, and that sets off your immune system. When your immune system gets set off, there's a period of time where we can try to turn the inflammation around and the attack around, But there is a period of time after, as my rheumatologist so kindly told me, that the horse is out of the gate, Marianne. You are not going to be able to turn this around. From here on out, it's going to be a matter of just trying to control the damage, control the pain, and control what it is doing to your quality of life. Also try to control how many organ systems in my body that it is trying to attack. So the things that I have looked at that have been, trying to adjust all of the exposures. When you're a child and you were born, you're born usually to a set of antibiotics that mom gets, either, before she has a C-section. If you have a C-section, then the child is not exposed to the bacteria that are in the vaginal canal that are healthy for the baby to, be populated with, but then gets populated with hands of nurses and the medical staff of mom and dad, and that is what begins to populate the baby's intestinal system. So you're set behind at that point. If women don't breastfeed, they don't get exposure to all of the great immune system boosts that you can receive through breast milk. Then you go on to have, maybe some ear infections, and, you get into, put children into daycare and they're exposed to 1,000 infections. They really get sick a lot. And then the binky falls on the floor, you pick it up and you wipe it off with the Clorox wipe or the hand sanitizer and you pop it right back in the child's mouth. When I was little, we used to go outside and sit in the dirt and make mud pies, and you had a dirty puppy licking your face, and you had all the sick kids around you, got exposed to everything, and your immune system was really charged and built up at that point. These things are good for you to get exposed to. Once we pass away, and if we're lucky enough to live to a ripe old age, our immune system and our cells in our nucleus that contains all of our genes are 70% replaced with viral material. So viruses and bacteria and things can be actually very symbiotic to us. They add to our immune system. They add to our genetic ability to fight and improve us, so to speak. There are some people who are susceptible, and they, gets reactivated. Maybe they become sick again, develop more autoimmunity down the line. But actually, all of these things we're exposed to as kids, we are supposed to incorporate in, and it's supposed to boost and help our immune system. But what we do with our kids is we, put a barrier on them. We don't let children, play with other children that are sick. And not to mention, I'm not an anti-vaccine person. Please do not misunderstand. I think vaccines are very, very wonderful and effective in the right place and the right time. And if, we're 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, and we get, 7 shots at each time, we really are shutting down our immune system and not allowing our immune system to build up and become stronger against those, those threats that are out there against us. So, as people get older and as we continue to try to battle all these super illnesses, and we get, more and more resistant to antibiotics that are out there. And, before we have a new surgery or procedure, we get a whole run of antibiotics then. We are giving our children way too many antibiotics. These are things that do not allow our immune system to develop and fight all of the factors and threats that are out there normally. We do need all of these threats to build us up and make us a lot stronger. So in the case of COVID, I think COVID has been hugely deleterious. It has been, we're going through a surge even right now, but it has been phenomenal in the way that it has affected us. But I think mostly the effect has been for us to become very, antisocial, to put up more barriers and use, more products that will eventually shut down our immune system even further. And that's why I think in the next 10 years, we're going to have a lot of problems with autoimmunity. So I'm going to take a short break in just a second. And I want to talk a little bit more about how we approach and diagnose these things and why it's important to catch it early. For a moment, though, I do want to speak about Pinnacle Clinical Research, who has been a great sponsor for me, and I thank you guys very, very much. They are in charge of finding your fatty liver disease, which 1 in 3 people in San Antonio or in the South Texas area are affected by fatty liver and do not realize that they have it. And this is where the fats in our diet and in our bodies start to replace our live, living liver cells. And it takes over after time. People can die from cirrhosis. So we are trying to catch this as early as possible. I do think there's an autoimmune component to that as well. And Pinnacle has been so kind to help me. In fact, Dr. Harrison is going to be on the show again very soon. But you can find Pinnacle in Austin and in San Antonio. I want to give you a couple of numbers. So you can go get your free Fibroscan. So it takes about 2 to 3 minutes. It's very, very quick. I had Evelyn who did my Fibroscan, and it was so quick. Got some great results back. Got to talk with the doctor. And if you have any fatty liver that is diagnosed, then you are offered a study that you can join and try to help others with fatty liver. So in San Antonio, 210-529-7978, and up in Austin, which we're heard up there as well, is 512-601-5788, and pinnacleresearch.com, PINNACLE research.com. And again, I want to repeat some information where you can find me at drpbetterlife.com. And you can find all the information about where to find me here in town. I do have a medical practice, an email, and other ways of finding me as far as social media and whatnot. I invite you all, please go listen to the past shows. I've got a lot of great things about hormones, about leaky gut and other issues, but also talking to a lot of great people in San Antonio and abroad. So we're going to take a short break, and when I come back on the other side, talk a little bit about how to prevent autoimmunity and find it early and why it's so important. We'll see you back in a minute.
Fatty liver is linked to 2 different situations, alcohol and diabetes or obesity. In both cases, patients can have no symptoms. In the United States, and in particular, Texas, the most common cause of liver disease in general is non-alcoholic fatty liver. Again, associated with overweight, obesity, and or diabetes. Additional risk factors include high cholesterol, high blood pressure, Hispanic ethnicity, and postmenopausal status. At Pinnacle Clinical Research, we offer a quick, non-invasive ultrasound-based screening assessment called Fibroscan. This test is done at no cost to you, and we do not take insurance. The test will measure the fat and stiffness in your liver and stage your risk and development of fatty liver disease. You will meet with a provider immediately following your scan to go over your results. If you're interested in getting more information on your liver health, please call 210-982-0320 and schedule your Fibroscan today. We are conveniently located in the Medical Center at 5109 Medical Drive.
Hello, welcome back. I am Dr. Mariane Pinkston, and I am talking about autoimmunity today. It's a huge, broad topic, and it's so hard to narrow it down into 27 minutes. So I tried to select some issues that I think are important to people out there, because we are developing as a society a huge problem with autoimmunity, and that is our immune system attacking us and bringing about disease. Ultimately, it can shut down your quality of life as well as your quantity. So it's very important that we find these diseases very early. So with autoimmunity, and the reason it's becoming more and more of an issue, again, is because of the way that we have reacted to our environment, stating that our environment is bad for us, and we have to fight the stressors. We have to fight all the new viruses and with COVID and our vaccines and everything. So one of the things that concerns me about autoimmunity as well is that we have looked back. If you go back to around 1996, when the Monsanto came around, with Roundup is what I'm alluding to. Roundup was not invented in 96, but it was used widespread on all of our crops. And so the molecule that is in Roundup is something that does attack our gut and alludes to building your immune system to turn on you and to start attacking you. And in 1996 is where we began to see many, many exponential changes and growth patterns to so many different diseases. And I believe this is because of our immune system being attacked and no longer under, control of the body, but that the body starts to turn and act on itself. So things like dementia, autism in children, those are neurological disorders. If you can look at heart disease, stroke, cancers, all of those began to grow exponentially since the mid-90s. But this is when we began to see just about anything that you can imagine disease-wise, especially autoimmunity, begin to grow from there. So our industrialization of our food has changed our ability to use our immune system to fight the level of threats that we get on a daily basis and turn its attention onto ourselves. So industrialization also has afforded us to lose many of our vitamins and supplements. So one of the things that I harp on all the time with my patients is vitamin D. With vitamin D, we get plenty of sun, we get plenty in our diet, but the problem is vitamin D by itself doesn't have the ability to change and modify itself to what our bodies would actually use. And vitamin D is very important to the health of our gut, for losing weight, for preventing depression, for preventing osteoporosis, also cancer, dementia, and many, many issues. I think at the heart of it all, if I pick a supplement, vitamin D is my absolute favorite. Like I say, we get plenty of it, but why are our levels so low? We want you to be 60 to 80. Unless you have an autoimmune disease, we want to bump you to about 80 to 100. But when you look at the lab reference ranges, docs will hold you at about 30. And most people that I check in my clinic are around 10, 12, very, very critically low. And these are in our children too. So what's missing though when our food was industrialized is vitamin K2. Not the K that gets confused with people who are on blood thinners who cannot take vitamin K, but K2. And K2 has only recently been added to some of our over-the-counter vitamins and supplements. But vitamin K2 allows your body to use the vitamin D correctly and convert it into the form that's necessary for your body to use appropriately. And so you need to take a supplement that is D3 with K2, and I think you'll find that your levels are easily bumped up. I provide a lot of different sources for vitamins. I don't really sell anything. Not a lot of fun to keep the inventory at the office and do all the mailing out and everything, but I do have some sites that I use for a good vitamin D with K2, and I'll include that on my site so that you can find it, one or two different versions of it. Usually things are not always affordable to most patients, but I invite you to look at it from a different perspective. When you take something that is over the counter, you are taking something that is usually fraught with a lot of fillers. They really don't use the right products. It's inexpensive for a reason. You get what you pay for. So with all the fillers, you're not actually getting the doses that you need. When you go to your doctor and get your lab checked, then they tell you to go up on your dose. So instead of taking 1 or 2 tablets, now you're taking 3 or 4, and you can go through that supply very quickly. So there you go. You're already paying for something that would be effective and worthwhile, more pharmaceutical grade. So I invite you, please. It's something that if you want to see your levels go up, again, you get what you pay for. Look for things that are more pharmaceutical grade. Most of the time you can only get them through your physicians, but not all physicians are out to make money with that. It's okay if they do, but I can definitely lead you in a direction that would help you find a good product. So again, vitamin D is one of those sources. Things like zinc and vitamin C, and all the same. Anything that we have looked at over the last couple of years with COVID, I think people have heard a lot about the different vitamin aspects of what boosts your immune system. But again, what we're trying to do is stop our bodies from attacking us. So you've got to look at and eliminate some of the foods that tend to make you feel sick. But again, let's go back to the gut and heal the gut. And that will be a lot more effective in shutting down where your immune system gets exposed and starts to turn on you. So being that this is an enormous topic, I'm going to try to do more on this in the future. Again, I want to let you know you can go to drpbetterlife.com and find all the information on me and the other podcasts that I've done for over the last year. And also more about my sponsors, I've got Pinnacle Clinical Research, who is testing folks free with Fibroscan, and you can reach them at 210-529-7978 or pinnacleresearch.com. And for those of you here in the San Antonio area, we do a lot of testing for autoimmune diseases. That is something many physicians aren't really astute with, and I'm happy to do for you. A lot of these things aren't always insurance covered. There's a downside to it, but there are ways of looking at your immune system and seeing what is causing your immune system to override its circuits and begin to turn and attack you. And there are reasons why you do feel badly. So next time when you're telling people that you don't feel well, but you look like $1 million, I'm telling you, inside, your body knows that something is wrong. And those are the people that we really want to look at and try to get a handle on your immune system early before it does some of the damage that it can do. I've had mine for 15 years now. Like he said, the horse is out of the gate. There's not much I can do there. I'm reaping some of the damage from it, but there are ways of making your life a lot easier. So thank you, guys. I hope you have a great week, and join me when I have Dr. Stephen Harrison on soon. And I'm also going to have Dr. Jim Laval coming up, who is my mentor and has taught me a lot about immune system and anti-aging and weight loss. We're going to have him on soon. So you guys have a great week. We'll see you soon. Thank you.